Hello, everybody, and welcome right around the nation. It is NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We hope you're refreshed. Weekend off, but we fire it back up again this weekend. So much to get into. Cope's in the house.
Thank you, brother.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Like you said, I'm refreshed.
You look good.
No basketball. I'm ready to roll.
You look great. Hey, you know what? We haven't got Liam Santa Maria today, but we have got champion Pete Hawley in the house. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. And, feel refreshed. I mean, I'm just dealing with a little sick child. So you're paying for childcare and not sending him. So it's a bit of a rort, but we're getting through it. I'm ready for some NBL hoops again.
Good. A lot to get into. Olgun Ulic is going to join us. Big source not far away. Southeast Melbourne Phoenix been in the news, and we've got plenty of predictions about award winners so far. But I want to quickly ask you, because we're in a fever break right now. 2018, there was a fever break. Melbourne United lost by 165, I think it was, right before the fever break. But the whole season changed, my man. Good or bad memories about having that time off?
Good because we went on to win a title, obviously, in that year. But you're right, we lost by 32 to Perth after a few games on our home floor. So that's exactly what, right.
Fans walked out half-time.
Wow.
You're thinking the same thing I was. All us players are like, oh no, like we've got 2 weeks off now. Like we're in a bit of trouble here. Chris Golding, Dave Barlow, these guys went off to Boomers stuff. And we thought, okay, we got recovery. We'll have the weekend off. Next morning, we're at UFC MMA training. And I was like, okay, we're just doing a workout. This is great. We beat the crap out of each other. I'm talking, I had to match up on Ty Wesley, and he pile-driven me, nearly snapped my neck. Casper Ware was fighting the instructor and we're going all out. And it was the hardest few days of my life, in terms of practices. There was hot yoga, there was boxing. We didn't touch a basketball for a while, and then we won 15 of 17.
It worked.
It's happened every day since.
Now, you remember that. Do you remember your fever break in 92? Because the Barcelona Olympics was in the middle of the year and the NBL stopped for pretty much a month. Do you remember yours?
I can't remember what I did yesterday. 92, that was a long time ago, my friend.
Hey.
You tell me about it. What happened?
Well, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, the fact you can't remember it makes me think he was no UFC MMA or hardcore sessions.
No.
It was just you having a couple of...
probably us going to the pub, having a couple of drinks, and getting ready to roll.
They were the names of the pubs back then.
Funnily enough, you lost the game before the fever break as well. Newcastle got hold of you.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, you do remember that, do you?
I remember the loss. Yeah.
Oh, you remember that?
We didn't lose a lot of games, so I do remember that one. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, let's get into it. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. And there has been a little bit of news before we get back into the basketball, because the All-NBL first and second teams, always a lot of conjecture. It has been changed to be positionless, which means regardless of what position a player plays, if it is voted into the top 5, or he is voted into the top 5, he will be part of the All-NBL first or second teams. Copes,
I don't like
your
it.
original thoughts?
I don't like it because this league is a dominant guard league.
Yeah.
Right? It's dominant. So now you're going to have 5 guards. What about the bigs? You can't forget about those bigs who go out there and rebound the ball and set screens and do all the hard yards and not reward them at the end.
I'm nervous for that reason too. Don't get me wrong, a change needed to happen. I think we saw the inside versus outside. There was always players. I mean, Mitch Creek's the obvious one, kept missing out because of the people who he was up against in that inside player. And a lot of the time you've got guys I think of this year, like Anthony Lamb, for instance. He started when everybody was healthy. He was playing the 3. Now he's playing the 4, so it would change. But for the same thing of we need to look after our bigs. Big play, it's not always attractive to watch. Guards are going to have the highlights. Stats-wise, I think it's going to be more reliant on stats. A change had to happen. I'll let it play out for a couple of years before I really see what it's like. I probably would have liked to see 2 guards, 2 wings or power forwards, and then a centre. I like seeing that position of who's the best centre in the league, who's the best, not necessarily power forward, but who's the best non-guard. Because I do think that there are going to be some bigs who are unlucky because their play might just not be as sexy.
And what happens is the bigs aren't happy. Then they're not playing well. If they're not playing well, it's all about the guards coming down.
There's 2 guards saying this, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's exactly right. So what will happen, absolutely, early doors, there will be bigs in this year's All-NBL first team. Absolutely no doubt. And we've got to put a little more faith, possibly, in the people who are selecting and cultivating the nominees and the players who end up as the best 5 in the league. But there is no doubt it's a concern when you just leave it positionless. And I don't like to always refer to the AFL, but the Brownlow medal is traditionally seen as a midfielder's medal. It doesn't take away the valuable and how valuable the other defenders or forward line players are, but traditionally the people hone in on the players who traditionally get the most stats and the most airtime, and that are the guards in the league. Now, I'm going to put my faith in the selectors, because if it turns out in 5 years' time we've just got 5 guards, we'll have another tweak. I have no doubt we'll have another tweak.
Or we'll change selectors.
We're not on it.
That's right.
Well, it's funny this, because we are now working with the new parameters when it comes to our All-NBL first teams. Here they are, early doors. I've left Bryce Cotton out.
Wow.
I still think he'll probably end up making the team, but I think Jalen Adams has been great. CG 43 has probably been the best player in the league. Milton Doyle was that early doors. Anthony Lamb has been outstanding. And I've got JLA only just in front of our man Source because he did win that matchup a couple of weeks ago, which now makes me nervous because Source is watching me. What do you got,
He only has 4 guards in there.
I know.
Mr.
But the same thing, because I was the same, and you talked about that centre matchup, and we're looking forward to, I think it's December 14th, the rematch. But I had Anthony Lamb in there initially, and then once the change, I'm like, I think Parker Jackson Cartwright over the course of the season has been more effective. I know Lamb might finish as better and likely in, and that's why I went 4 guards, and Jalen Adams was a tough one to leave out. But to be honest, you could throw Jalen Adams in there as well. And if you've got those 5 guards, you're like, okay, that team makes sense, but the bigs kind of get left out. So,
but when you got guys like Allen Williams and JLA who are dominant right now, you can't leave them out, man. They're playing too well.
But that's why I kind of like the idea of if you have like the centre and you kind of see the 2 best bigs in the league battle each other out how many times they play each other. And then they're both going to say whoever won that head-to-head matchup, and again, the rest of the games are still going to count.
Right.
But they'd shake each other's hands and say, okay, you got first team this year, I got second team, I'm coming back at you next year.
Absolutely.
So that's why I kind of like that idea of, okay, we're going to really hone in on the centre. I still want to see these big. I still want to see the centres. I want to see this attractive, the NBL, all that kind of NBA talent like Source down here.
Couple of things. Hawley whacked the new rules and input in 4 guards, so that's obviously got to be kept in mind as well. But I also think that in that situation, I don't think in any team in the world we'd see Williams and JLA on the court together, or at least in the starting 5, right? So I think there's got to be some semblance of realistic putting a 5 together. Right, so I would like the selectors and the people who are involved in this to actually look at it as a very well-weighted, well-balanced starting 5 compared to the all-second NBL team, which would be a bench team. Now, it doesn't always work that way, right? But that's how I put my 5 together, because I like Lamb as a player. I'm a huge Jackson Cartwright guy as well, but I got Jalen Adams, because Sydney are really good, and he just cruises through and does what he wants. CG's been incredible, and Milton Doyle likewise. I think Bryce Cotton will end up making the team, because I think Perth are only going to get better.
That was wild from you. That was a little wild from me.
What do you mean?
With Bryce Cotton.
We went for 3 weeks saying, well, Bryce Cotton can't hit a shot, and now he's in the All-NBL first team.
But they won 4 in a row.
5 in a row.
Yeah, and they've been really, and they've been
he's
great.
played super.
They've been great, and he's a superstar, and he's the best player in the league, probably. But I also don't think we can sit here for 3 weeks and say the guy couldn't quite hit a shot and Perth was struggling and sack everyone and just insert him straight
I don't
back
think it was more his fault. I don't think it was
his fault either.
That he wasn't playing well.
Well, you know what? The system's fault. There's a lot of players out there who blame the system.
Oh, okay.
We could have a time where, like, if you say JLA plays at an elite level the rest of the season, CG tapers off ever so slightly, Jalen Adams keeps doing his thing, Bryce Cotton, say Doyle tapers off slightly and Jordan Crawford keeps going. And you have Crawford, Parker Jackson Cartwright, Bryce Cotton, Jalen Adams, and a centre.
4
point guards.
4 very small guys.
That is true. There's going to be a lot of mouse in the house type of action from Leonard Copeland. The fact is, right, 4 weeks ago, I posed the question on this show, would any Melbourne United player be in the All-NBL first team? And at that point, I thought, no chance, because they're so well-rounded. Now, that might end up... Chris Golding is a freak, and he could do this week in, week out. He doesn't have to, because once they get some of these guys back, it'll be a much more balanced sort of offensive output from him. So he will probably drop off and not end up being the All-NBL first team, even though he's one of the most valuable. All right, so MVP. Based on that, right now, who is your MVP right now?
Right now, I would have to go with Chris Golding because of the way the team's playing, the way he's playing. He's unselfish.
Yeah.
That plays a role for me. He's not out there trying to get his points. He's just doing what it takes to win, and it looks good.
Before you go any further, Hills, I want to ask you this question, right? As we watch some of the highlights from what has been a great start. Is he the most unselfish superstar you've played with? Or less egotistical superstar? Because he does fit into a system when he has to, and he can do this when he has to.
100%, and there's only one reason I have to give, is that 2019 season, he went to Dean Vickerman and said, I'll come off the bench because things aren't working. Mitch McCarron was the starting guard, and we made it to a grand final series. We lost to Perth, but that was already a great of this league, a great of Australian basketball, putting his hand up saying, I'll come off the bench for the rest of the season. And I tell you what, it was weird. You have that bench huddle before the game and he's leading it, and then you're sitting next to him. We're playing in the jungle. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't belong here. So for that reason, I'd say yes. And he'd be if the season stopped right now, he would be. And I think as JLA continues to get games under his belt, when it comes to the panel voting and the coaches voting, it's kind of hard if you have to pick one of the two. I don't suspect a Melbourne player winning the award.
No, I agree.
I don't think it's going to happen because they're going to have too many guys. But team performance matters.
You know something that I don't think we've touched on, anyone's touched on? We spoke a lot about Matthew Dellavedova and getting in better shape, and it's all about the boomers and left out of that squad and all the rest of it, right? Chris Golding went to the World Cup and didn't play a great deal. And there were times at that World Cup that I think a lot of people thought, you know what, where is Chris Golding in this particular game? A lot of times, right? So we leave that tournament, and the idea probably is going to Paris to Chris Golding, the very limited minutes he played, probably means he's not on the outer, but he's probably on that bubble. He's probably got a little revenge in him. I know he's in the team still, but he is coming with a point to prove, because right now, based on what he is doing, there is no way he's not going to Paris.
He's the best shooter.
None.
He's the best shooter on that team.
Absolutely.
And didn't play, but the best shooter on the team.
There's a lot of non-shooters out there.
Yeah.
Which is that's more of the issue. I mean, Jock Landale to come back who can stretch the floor, but the non-shooters is the bigger issue. But you look at the last two games. I look at an MVP, and I personally want to see if that team wins without looking at a box score, who won them that game. And he's a player who has that quarter, who has that half where you're like, I just remember him hitting those big shots, those timely shots. He's a clutch performer, which is what we saw from Bryce Cotton year in and year out. It's what we saw from Jalen Adams when he won, which is why they're going to be in the conversation again. He had 18 second half points in the last two games they won. Undermanned in the throwdown, and then to come back against the Phoenix. He's averaging 40% on 11 attempts per game. He's 20 more made threes than anyone. Everyone always says he's a one-trick pony. Okay, but if your one trick is that much better than the rest of everybody else, there's a reason why right now that you would be the most
And you know what's funny, too? He's not getting enough shots. For me, I mean, if I go back and the guys I played with and myself, he's a superstar that can score. I've seen this guy score 50 points in a game. He's not getting enough shots. And again, I know what Dean's doing, and it's working for him and great for them. But he's a better man than me, because I'd be looking for that ball and the way I care. I'm just telling you, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, jury told us you're always complaining about it. All right, next gen award. Of course, there was that tweak last year. We're seeing some in-season tweaks from the NBL the last couple of years. Next gen award, under 25. I think it's 25 and under in April, the conclusion of the season. Pauls, is that
you couldn't have said that any better. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
Did you write this rule?
Either way.
You had something to do with it.
I was a big advocate for the change. I just didn't like because there was a couple of times where you have like 3 players eligible for the Rookie of the Year. I know you said the next stars weren't eligible at the time. So I was a little concerned about the age. I thought 25 might be a little high, but I mean, last year we saw it kind of worked out. Sam Mortenberg, who should have won the Rookie of the Year, ended up winning it.
And he did. And just on that, that's why I have confidence in the selectors and the people who really name the people who win these awards, or the All-NBL first team, is they still are able to look at a basketball sense. And Wardenberg, we all blew up when they changed it. We thought he won't win it, and he ends up winning it. So I think common sense still plays somewhat of a part.
You've got to remember, it's the panel of people who, the experts, pick the votes of the final select pool that then go to the coaches and captains as well.
Right.
I think there's a certain thing that might change in that as well. But coaches and captains are the one who are going to vote, which is why we got to when we talked about defensive player.
I haven't got my email about being involved.
Yeah, it's strange.
I know. It's incredible. Next year, let's start with Alex Tui, because he has having an outstanding year, and Liam Santamaria speaks so highly early doors, and now we've all jumped on this bandwagon. Sydney are good, and he is good. There's players, young kids who get minutes in teams that may not be overly successful. Alex Tui is an opposite to that, Hulls.
I put a lot of weight on guys who can play at both ends, especially for his age. And I think he's terrific, and we saw that nearly every game he's played. It was funny when they came out and said he can kind of guard 1 through 5. Everyone kind of had a chuckle, but you've seen certain possessions where you're like, yeah, this is true. He actually can hold his own when he matches up and switches onto a big. So I love the way that he's played. I think he's definitely going to be in the conversation. Luke Travers, another one. But you talk about, it's probably Luke Travers' award right now. But then Ira Hook-Porty's been enormous as well. So we might not end up with the best team in the competition as it stands, Melbourne United, winning any awards because they've got too many people to choose from.
So, before we look at Bobby Clintman, right? Travers, Tui, Saar, Froling, Hook-Porty, Clintman. Who right now are you leaning towards?
I like Saar.
Yeah. So you like Saar over Travers, over Tui, over Hook-Porty, over Froling, who plays a major role in the team.
I'm looking at the value and where he goes after this. I like the fact that he can help an NBA team when he gets there. But he's unselfish, he's long, he plays defense, he can stretch the floor, he's smart. I like his game.
I'm guessing you assume he should play more minutes then, basically.
100%, 100%. But it's hard for me to sit here and say he needs to play more minutes when Portland now starting to win. Okay, but if I'm coaching, he's playing. He's starting for me.
And this is the thing, right? This is the great thing about basketball and sport. We all have different perceptions. Your perception is based on what you think he's going to do. Yours is based on a guy who's at two ends. I'm a Bobby Klitman fan. Now, I don't think he will win it, but he's been able to slide into that Cairns team that have been ups and downs and roller coaster, and I think that needed a fever break. But his excitement and his ability to believe in himself and the contagious energy of which his teammates and fans in Cairns feed off is a huge reason as to why I think he'll just keep getting better and better. And he'll probably end up, there's his numbers there, 11 and 6. He'll end up averaging 14 and 7 or 8 over the year. And that's impressive for a team that is full of young kids who like to have a crack.
I think it's spot on with the fact that, I mean, Travers right now, Sam Froling leads the league in double-doubles.
Yeah, I know.
Struggling, but Bobby Klitman is going to have a massive rest of the season and could very well win this award because you look at that starting lineup for Cairns when he's been injured and it hasn't been working. And if he slots back into that, he's going to play at a high level, and I think he might his hands on.
And they got the right coach. Forty's going to give him an opportunity to do what he likes to do.
Yeah, and you know what happens next year? 40 then rolls out more college recruits. Guys are leaving. He rolls out all these success stories. Oh, well, he should. And away he goes. He gets more talent into the Taipans. All right, quick break. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Plenty more, including the Coach of the Year so far on the way next.
Oh, my goodness! Comes down the middle, and with the two hands. Grown man business from Jalen Galloway. Oh, my God. Down it goes. That's the Bryce Cotton we know and love in the Hungry Jacks NBL. Here we go. He finds Flowers. Down. Bang! Bang! Tyler Harvey, you star! From deep. You are kidding me, Chris Golding!
Welcome back to NBL Overtime. Just a little taste of what we've already tasted in NBL 24 that's about to ramp up in a couple of sleeps' time. Now, just before we go any further, because I'm a very simple human being, right, I just want to make this clear because I had to duck into the rules. So when it comes to the All-NBL teams, it's players and coaches that have the say, right? So I think I said selectors earlier. Players and coaches. So I have full faith that the players and coaches are going to fight for the bigs and the rule is going to work, or the tweak is going to work in the way it's intended.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would think the same thing we talk about the Wardenberg. Players and coaches understand, okay, well, we need to give some love to the big fellas.
We hope so.
We hope so. We're pleading so.
Hey, Coach of the Year, straight up, give me one name.
Vickerman.
There's only one name as it stands. Yeah. As it stands, there's obviously only one name.
But there's guys that are close.
They're chasing.
And if Melbourne United start to drop off, there's some coaches sitting there in that seat waiting to take the trophy. Yeah.
It's interesting. I had a conversation yesterday where this person who loves his NBL said to me, Melbourne United get some injuries. I was like, they've probably been the most injured team in the league already, right? And that gives a lot of weight to what Dean Vickerman has been able to do. And also the fact, and we touched on it earlier, Hook Porty great early. JLA had to slide back into the system. Chris Golding. It's not easy to manage egos. You put together a talented team, like there have been a few in the league that have put together. You've got to be able to manage them the right way.
100%. That's one of the reasons why I got out of coaching. And I'm being real about it. Times have changed. Yes. Back in our day, it was yes, sir, no, sir. Coach, what do you want? You want me to run through this wall? I'm running through the wall. Today, players make more money than the coaches. They don't play that. They're not happy with you. They're not happy with the decisions you're making. They get together, two players, and go to the general manager and say, let's get this guy out of here. It happens.
Yeah. That last part was a fallacy because he coached me in China on the China trip, and he's talking about making more money. We won the thing.
No, not this. Not this again.
I'm not getting into it.
Not this again. Now, just quickly. Do you like that, though? When he was playing, when Coach was playing, the players made more money than the coaches. Then when he goes into coaching, it's switched all around, and that's why you quit.
No. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I think it's funny that you mentioned
the NBL
United and Dean Vickerman figuring it. They've only had 57 seconds or something with everybody. So they haven't actually had that test yet of figuring it out for a long period, the roles, everybody healthy in this team.
But the coach is so good, who dares say something to Dean about his playing time now?
Oh, no.
You can't.
No doubt. And I think you talk about the chasing pack. If Brisbane do get it, like where you've come from, which is what we saw with Cairns, we saw with New Zealand last couple of years, if Brisbane can finish top 4 and 4th, and Melbourne maybe say they drop 3 or 4 more games and they're not a runaway minor premier, then all of a sudden you think of Justin Schuller, of like he's turned this culture around, he's turned this team around, and all of a sudden that becomes a little bit more attractive than what's happened so far in the first.
Or if Roth go ahead and wins the championship, like our friend Damon says, he wins the championship, then you got to look at him.
But the issue is the championship doesn't play into it, right? It doesn't play into it because it's done before. It's on the back of the regular
But they're on a run and they're rolling and they're going that away.
They finish second?
Yeah, they're going that away, you got to say.
Tasmania finished second. Scott Ross can have a big say.
And even Sydney. I mean, they had a new coach, new team.
Yeah, agreed.
Come in and done well. So there's some guys sitting there waiting.
Is he a little bit underdone, Mahmood, because of... You talk about they've got a whole new style of play. Their defence is still trying to click. I don't think they're going to be at their best till early January, which I think the Kings assumed that as well.
Yep.
But because he's come into a team that's won the last 2, we are kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, well, they're currently second. Big deal. They should be there. But there's a lot of new pieces here.
That's right.
I reckon the coach right now is not getting the credit he deserves because they are the Sydney Kings and they're such a wonderful organisation of being able to do what they have done and replace an entire starting 5. So people see the Sydney Kings 2-time champions. They don't necessarily translate it into a whole new crew coming in. Now, they recruited incredibly well. They got Jalen Adams back. Valentine's been good. But you know what? They didn't have Hogue early. Then Galloway, who was having an outstanding season, gets hurt. So there is legitimately, behind Dean Vickerman, there's probably 4 coaches right now that you could absolutely flip a coin to see who the coach of the year is. All right, best defensive player. This is always interesting for us to talk on NBL Overtime because defence is not an integral part of any of our games.
I played D.
Oh, come on, look.
That's all I did.
Oh, come on. Just because you played more D than Drewy doesn't mean you played D.
Played D.
Who have you got? Who have you got right now?
It's Shea and Bull Quall.
Yeah.
Both. They're both right there. The thing about Bull Quall is we have to teach him, if you have 2 fouls, you can't continue to play as hard as you've been playing because they're going to pull you off. They need you on the floor, man. And he's so good at it. He picks you up straight away. He's in your face. He plays both ends of the floor. I love where he's come from.
And the physicality is almost unmatched again. And a lot of it, I know, you watch the games, that game against Perth, he could have got fouled off in the first 3 minutes. There is a lot. But when you don't just flick a switch with this is just the way that you play, you get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
He's been terrific. And Shea, Shea does this year in and year out. It's phenomenal to just see a guy have this impact on a game. And he could win you a game, Shea Ili, and score 0 points.
Yeah. So
he's getting better, too.
Yeah.
As good as he is on defense, he's getting better. And yes, his shooting is not great this year. It was better last year. But he takes control of the game. He finds guys where they need. He's a defensive stopper.
He's the best defensive player in the league for mine because he can actually win you a game defensively, which I don't think anyone else can do.
Yes.
And Doolittle...
I want to give some love to Christian.
Absolutely, give it to us.
Again, you look at the last 5 games I've been on this 5-game win streak, and you call it a genius coaching move, a genius whatever, to slide him down with his size to the 3.
Yes.
The way that he's played. And again, plus minus, people don't read into it a whole lot, but he's been plus 16, plus 19, plus 19, plus 15 in the first 4 games he's won. He's 5th in the league in plus minus overall right now, for a team that started so poorly.
Yeah.
And again, the way he came in and everything, I think he's been terrific. Hiram Harris has been unbelievable as well in that and a different lineup change. But if I had to think like defensively where they're at, I think they're the 3rd-rated defense right now.
They are now.
After the way they started. My mind goes straight to Christian. I don't think he's getting enough praise for it.
And that is what their huge weakness was last year. And this is why when we looked at who they recruited and the way they put their team together early doors, we're like, nothing's changed, right? We thought that was going to be Jordan Usher. It hasn't quite been that defensive stopper that he was rumoured to be. And Doolittle's had to now step up and be that guy. I'm with you. I think he's been brilliant, and as great as Bryce Cotton has been at one end and Harris has been great, and they're getting different flow around different ways. The fact that Doolittle, coming off an injury in game 1 or 2 here in the NBL, late signing, he's still easing into the league and the team. He does absolutely deserve more credit, not just as a defensive player of the year possibility, but also just as a huge part of this Wildcats resurgence is dramatic. but definitely better
It's
play.
resurgence.
It's what it is.
Well, we're only.
Man, they're terrible.
I know.
Figure them out.
It was only
They're
3
gone.
weeks, right? Like, it wasn't like they were terrible for
They
3 quarters. But
They
you're
started
right.
off terrible.
They were 1 week away from going to the NBL 1 West, and now they're back.
Would they have won the
Remember you
NBL
said
1 West?
that.
Oh, they were 1 week away.
How
They're
would
back.
you be being a plumber playing for Rockingham and Bryce Cotton rolls into the gym on a Friday night?
Remember you said that. I know.
But now that you look at it, I mean, like the way they're rolling, they can be a title contender. Yeah. Again, I do want to.
Well,
I think best defensive player is there's a lot of you need to have that build up from people talking about it. We haven't heard Perth talk about it, but I'd like to put him in the spotlight as potential.
Something that you are right. Something the fans and the clubs need to do better, and they've probably done a little more of it the last couple of years. They're narrative awards, right? As we get later in the year, I want to see some creative social media
100%.
stuff.
Yeah.
Pushing this.
100%.
Pushing whatever player you want to win a particular award. Now, it may or may not work, but they are narrative awards, really. The fact is that it adds so much to the content around the league, which is why this league's so great.
Yeah.
Most improved. This is interesting because we see a lot of different guys make a huge step from year to year. Like Main, of course, has been outstanding. We've got Travers in there, but I'd be surprised. Tyrell Harrison, in particular, with Baines out. Vasilovic, Bulqual, there's Jack McVeigh, of course, that wonderful game winner a couple of weeks ago. Hulls?
A name that's not there right now, it's because he's been injured, is Jalen Galloway. And again, same with the best defensive player. I had him potentially winning that before he got hurt. I thought he was terrific. Lat Mayen's the one right now.
Yeah.
Lat Mayen has nearly tenfold his output from last year.
Yes.
He played 4 games last year. He did not hit a 3 last season. That's unbelievable for what he's done now.
His energy is special.
Shooting 50% from 3, he's made 16 or something on the year, and he's just a reliable guy for Adam Ford to turn to, and someone who's just, you could tell, has been working on his game and waiting for an opportunity. It's hard to look past the improvement, and this is what the whole award's about. So, Lat Mayen, for me, the way he continues to go, it's going to be hard to see anybody kind of make a jump that outshines that.
Yeah.
Because going from playing 4 games, averaging 2 points.
Harrison, for me, was very good when the big fella went down.
Yep.
I mean, because we seen him last year, and I thought this guy needs some work. He needs some help.
For a few years.
For a few years,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He just
absolutely.
didn't have his confidence. He had this, always had the size, just didn't have the confidence. But now he's dunking the ball. He's taking it to the hole. He's rebounding strong. So I like the way where they're pushing him. And a lot of that is Baines helping him in practice.
For sure.
All right, 2 names. I want to start with this. Luke Travers, because we know he's a star. He's a big part of a team that's very, very good. But again, it comes back to that, not common sense, but that basketball conversation. We've seen him for a while. He's a championship winner. He's been drafted into the NBA. He's played some summer league, in fact, 2 summer leagues now, and been relatively decent, to be fair. Is there any chance he could win most improved?
Gee, this is the most consistent we've seen him.
Yeah.
He's always had a lot of patches in the years at Perth where he just go quiet, not for 1 game, but like multiple games in a row. He's having a big impact. Those numbers aren't as sexy as Lat Mayen's improvement because look at the team he's on. And there's a reason they're going to be continuing to pop up in the awards because they're right now the best team.
But is it fair to say, too, we expected that from Travis?
Yeah,
We
this is
expected
the
him.
thing,
He's
right?
been drafted. We expect him to come out and play well.
This is why I don't think he'll win it, because last year, he probably underperformed.
Yes.
Getting drafted,
Yes.
and underperforms, and he comes back into this year and new environment. It has been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just don't think the most improved.
I don't think he wins.
Now, Vasilovic, right? Much different role. Like, he had to play a role in Sydney, wasn't necessarily a guy they had to look to and have a major green light as well as he could shoot the pill. Goes into Adelaide, a little bit late. We know the circumstances around it, and has been huge. There's his numbers. He's been better, I think, in about 4 or 5 different aspects. He looks better off the dribble. He looks like defensively he's gained a little bit as well. Can he win it, or is it the same theory as Travis?
If Adelaide start winning games, if Adelaide start winning games and he's playing the way he's playing, he can win it.
Massive chance.
Yes.
He's done already. He's only played the 6 games. The jumping, you want to look at the stats when you look at most improved, is very similar to the Keanu Pinder jump, what we saw last year. I mean, he went back-to-back in the most improved player, but the 4th quarter, the takeovers, if they win games and he continues, I know it's not as efficient as he's been in the past, but what Adelaide have been desperately needing to start the season, he will be in that conversation.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved, wherever you might be, awards, whatever you feel. We miss your player. Let us know. Abuse Copes via Twitter. Make sure you hit him up. Well, it's called X nowadays, isn't it? Or Instagram or something. LinkedIn, Leonard.
Can't say abuse someone on X.
I know. Don't do it. I get enough abuse already.
I mean the social media,
From the coaches,
not anything else.
from the coaches and the players.
All the biggest and breaking news next with Olga Newlich. Leonard Copeland, Pete Hawley, Cam Luke. We are NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. News time. Olgun Ulich in the house. Hello, buddy.
Hey.
You good?
Yeah, I'm quite well. So, real quick, you speak about narratives with NBL awards.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a voter for NBA awards the past few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
What teams do is when you're a voter for NBA awards, they send you like decks.
There you go.
They send you PDF documents, basically barracking for their guys. So they'll send you like here are Rudy Gobert's, defensive stats. He should be the defensive player of the year. And so that's something that I wouldn't be against NBL teams doing, sending these out, collating all of these stats, advanced metrics, sending them out, barrack for your guy.
I've got an idea. I am not on the voting process, but I will push your player if you send me a red wine, care of NBL Overtime. That's fair, right?
I'm with you. Josh Adams sent me one last year from Tasmania.
Yeah,
that was all right for...
Hey, FIBA break. Pete spoke a little bit about it, what they have done in the past when he was at Melbourne United, and teams go about it in different ways. What do you got for us?
So teams do approach it differently. Some teams, so the Cairns Taipans, Sydney Kings, these are teams, in the New Zealand Breakers, they gave their guys some time off to start, right? 3 or 4 days off. Basically, they said, go do your own thing. We want you guys to go away, be re-energized, and then come back. New Zealand Breakers are interesting because they told their guys to go away for a little bit, and then when you come back, we're a team without McDowell White, we're a team without Zylan Cheatham. We're going to figure out a new way to play. How are we going to play with this group? Right now, they're a team that has one point guard. It's Parker Jackson Cartwright. That's effectively just one guy who can handle the ball. We have to figure out the style of play that suits this basically new group. So that's what they've done. Speaking off air with Pete, it's interesting the way the Bullets have handled this FIBA break. They went into it. They've had these summer league games, so they play a lot of scrimmages. They've done some boxing. I spoke with Justin Schuler. He said they had some egg trust drills that they did. And when I was speaking to Pete Hooley about it, it sounded eerily familiar to what Melbourne United has done in the past, which is unsurprising considering Justin Schuler is a disciple of Dean Vickerman.
Well, he's basically taken a lot of, would put his own little tweaks to it, but that's exactly the kind of stuff that you do. And I guess that bonding mixed in with getting away from hoops for a little bit. And it's the summer league thing, I think might have been his idea, to be honest, at Melbourne United, where you play, and it will probably continue. It's on a Tuesday night, it was, and it might be a different, but you guys coming back from injury, bench players throughout the season, they're going to go out there and play essentially a game a week because you're not going to get the minutes and you're going to stay ready to go. So it worked.
If it's working,
at Melbourne
they're going to continue
United, so why you'd be a fool if he didn't take some of that stuff to Brisbane, I think.
Absolutely.
So it'd be interesting to see how they come out of it.
Always good time if you have 2 weeks off to get over some injuries. And there's been a fair few injuries, in particular to integral pieces of some of these teams. There you go, get it out. Early stores. Who's going to be back?
Yeah, a lot of key guys who have been out, and don't want to say they were rested, but they were given a little bit of extra time off as the FIBA break approached because teams knew they had basically 10 days off. And so you've got someone like Jalen Galloway with the Sydney Kings, who I'm told is likely to return this week. Geordie Hunter is another one. He sat out that game against Melbourne with an ankle injury. He's also likely to return. For Melbourne, you have Matthew Dellavedova, sat out with that calf injury. He is back. He spoke to the media. I was at Hoop City. He mentioned that if there was a game last week, he would have played in it. Ian Clark is likely to be back as well. Adelaide just announced that Trey Kelly's back. And so a lot of these teams, Shannon Scott with the Brisbane Bullets, the Bullets should be healthy for the first time this season with Shannon Scott back. So this FIBA break was a good chance for a lot of these guys to be on the mend.
Any word on Hook Porty? Now, he played, but he's still not 100%, and we can tell that. Is there any word on him?
My expectation is that he's closer to 100% than he was during that last game. And then the other one that I'll mention is, so Geordie Hunter is the interesting one. He was out for a bit. I actually don't have another one. You go ahead.
Okay, perfect.
I think the FIBA break is phenomenal for, I know we just want to watch the games. No, I know, but because you don't want to see teams not at full strength. We want to see them well rested and now healthy going back and competing against each other. You don't want key guys sitting out. So, again, it's the pros and cons for it, but I think that we're going to get closer to more full healthy teams, and you want to see the best competing against the best every single night.
I remember my other one. Zylan Cheatham did some running on the anti-gravity treadmill, and so he's trending toward a sort of Christmas return, and so that's basically what the New Zealand Breakers are eyeing as far as Cheatham, McDowell White. They can keep their head above water until then. They have to hold on for dear life until then, basically.
Let's stay with McDowell White. Let's talk a little free agency, because it is this time of year as we start to get to the second half of the NBL season, the free agency and out of contract, in contract, what it might look like when it comes to player movement in the off-season. It's the world of professional sports. We'll start with Will McDowell-White. So what is it a team option, mutual option, club option? I want this on the record. NBL Overtime fans will know this. I don't believe in mutual options, so take it away.
It's a mutual option.
Here it is. Of course it is.
You best believe it. Look, McDowell has a mutual option. It was different. He was off contract last season, and going back to a winning program, it feels a lot easier. He has a really special relationship with Modi Mayowa. He's coming off the bench for this team, and so this is something that other teams are keeping a really close eye on. It's very valuable when you can have a local point guard or a local center as someone who you can start, and that's someone that McDowell-White is, and other teams see that, and so they're monitoring this situation closely. He is effectively a free agent next season.
There's no secret that he has a healthy salary. No secret. Will other teams, now that he's been injured, will other teams pay that money?
He's still young.
Yeah, he's young.
He's a 98 born guy, so he's 25, 26. That's teams understand what he brings to the table, and so someone like McDowell-White, we can speak on Bull Kowal. These are guys who, last off-season, a bunch of teams had interest in them and threw offers at them, threw multi-year offers at them. I'm expecting it to be pretty similar this off-season too.
When Sydney are able to retool the way they have, Jordan Hunter's been really good. Jonah Bolden's been really good, considering I think the expectation was low coming into this season after a fair bit of time away. What was their contract like?
So Geordie Hunter is off contract. I'm told that there is some level of mutual interest in negotiating for an extension of some sort. Jonah Bolden is another one who's off contract. And so these are guys who multiple teams see as starting level players. And so when you look at some of these starter level local bigs, so whether it's a Jonah Bolden or a Geordie Hunter, a Will Magnay and Isaac Humphries, these are all guys who are off contract this offseason that other teams are keeping an eye on as far as are these sort of plug-and-play bigs that we can just put into our system, throw imports around them, similar to what the Sydney Kings have done, and maybe win basketball games.
This is a very interesting dynamic to watch this, because as the season goes, if Jonah Bolden continues to get better and better, if you're the Kings, you're probably thinking, he could be our starter next year.
Yeah.
We can bring him back. We've got Jonah Bolden involved. We could start him. But then Jordan Hunter's not going to go to the bench then. So then it's interesting to see what happens. I think as Jonah Bolden continues to get better in that match fitness, game fitness.
And Cook might be hanging around waiting to get, join the team as well. So
the thing with Jonah Bolden is, right, like 4 years ago, every NBL team would have given him whatever he wanted, right? Then he has time away, his decision.
He's been terrific.
Then he comes back. He has been incredible, right? Sydney took the risk. It's working and it will continue to work. But every other NBL team now wants him again, right?
I mean, he was an unknown coming into this season,
he was.
right? He's also a Sydney kid.
Yeah.
His dad is a Sydney Kings legend, so all of that plays a part in it as well. But this is new territory for him, and it might not be the NBL. I'm told that he's open to basically everything after this offseason.
He's playing well enough too. Where
that's
somebody
true.
will give him an offer.
Because those options weren't there going into this
they
season.
weren't.
Because he hadn't been playing
He had
basketball
one option,
for years.
the Sydney Kings, right?
Exactly. Now he's played a year in Sydney. He will be open to Sydney again, obviously. But there will be other options out there that he has to consider.
We've touched on Bull Kowal when it comes to some of these awards. Where's he at? Because he's out of contract, right?
Yeah, he signed. I was so surprised when he signed this contract. It was a one-year deal to return to the Cairns Taipans, right? And granted, it was very lucrative. So there was monetary reasons for him to return, but he had lucrative multi-year offers on the table, and so you would assume you'd go and take that security. Now, he's averaging career high in points. His efficiency is quite good. Obviously, he's in those depoy talks, but I wonder, based on just like what he is, he's sort of a fringe marquee level guy. Has his value increased, or is he? I'm interested to get your take. Is he going to go into this offseason with just a similar level of value?
I think his value's increased.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it on both ends now. And I thought that he wanted to unlock the offensive end. I thought he might lose interest a little bit in the other one, which he hasn't. He's been one of the best, if not the best, two-way players in the league. So I think it's probably gone up.
But what happens is, when you got a guy like this who is playing great under 40 and money piles in, coming in, and you go to another team, you don't play as well. Look at Pinder. Pinder was doing fantastic in Cairns. All of a sudden, now his numbers are going down. He's still a great player. His numbers are going down. He's taking more money. Numbers are going down.
Was the one-year deal he's cool? Like, did he want a multi-year from Cairns and they just wanted 1 year?
I don't think so. I think he wanted the one.
He wanted the 1 year. Interesting, because his value has gone up. But if the number is as high as been rumoured, I have no bloody well idea, to be fair.
What's the
But
number?
if it is,
What's the number?
no, I'm not going to say the number because
There's some zeros in it.
Yeah, there is. I think there's a couple of zeros.
500, 600, 700?
No,
Come on, bro. You
Copes.
We're on.
Copes, if he's on 700, mate, he ain't leaving Cairns. He's staying at Gilligan's every Wednesday night. He doesn't even worry about uni night.
It's similar to what Keanu Pinder did. Keanu Pinder did one more year at Cairns. He used that to get a giant contract in Perth.
40 would love to have him too, but I think 40 would also be like, if you're going to get more money, please take it. That's
But you talk about him as a marquee level player. Like
Absolutely.
The marquee guards and wings in the league, you got like a Chris Golding, a Nathan Sobey. Is he at that level that you're going to give him a marqueeable number?
I'm just trying to put him on a contending team right now, and I think all those teams would be desperate to have a guy.
A lot of contending teams want Paul Kumar.
JLA, what's that situation like? He's got a 2-year, right or not?
2-year deal, player option.
Okay, player option.
For this coming, for next season.
So I believe in player options is for people at home.
Yeah, look, that's a player option, and again, that's one where he has gone to China before to go chase that bag, and look, he enjoys his time in Melbourne. So that's one that you're sort of tracking, you're keeping an eye on, but I don't know if it's one that's crazily significant right now, just because I feel like they just got to get through this season and then see what happens beyond that.
I would say, and Hulls, I would say there's no chance he plays at another NBL team next year, or in the foreseeable future, to be fair. I think it's either internationally or here, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What?
He came up through this, and again, but
You
you're looking at
disagree?
marquee guys, they would take him over anyone else, though. Like, Chris Golding, you keep those two, like, I think that's the issue. It's not like they're going to underpay him.
Yeah.
They'll make sure he's...
Yeah, they got to make sure they pay him.
Well, they're paying him now, right? So I
What's
don't
he
think...
making? You know all the
Huh?
contract.
What am I?
You talk about
Just because
guys
I
that
look
making
like
money.
an accountant, mate, doesn't mean I know numbers.
You keep talking about guys that
These
get
are
paid.
fake glasses, coach.
Can I throw a quick question
yes,
out there
please.
before we go? This offseason, you got Bull Qual, you got DJ Vasiljevic. These are two local guys. Most teams see them as fringe marquee guys. If you're, let's say, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, let's say you're the Adelaide 36ers, which one are you paying slight overs for to have on your team?
Well,
Both. I like them both.
but
Can't have them both.
if I'm looking at Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and what's held them back the last couple of years from being that elite contender, defense.
Yep, 100%.
And like the fact that you can get a bit of both with a guy like Bull Qual, I'd be putting all my eggs in the Bull Qual basket.
Keeping in mind that Alan Williams is contracted next season, Mitch Creek is contracted next season.
Well, that's
a very post-up heavy team. Who would you rather? So that's like the interesting...
DJ Vasiljevic.
Bull Qual shooting 41% from downtown, elite defender, obviously. That's something that the Phoenix are bottom 3 in defense right now. So, yeah, these are interesting questions. These are questions that teams are asking right now.
And they'll start to fire up as we get into the second half of the year. Olgun, thank you.
Thank you.
Hashtag
How much money?
NBL Overtime. I tell you what, 15,000 an episode is what Copes gets for this show.
Well, yeah,
Back
okay.
at home.
I'm about
Plenty
to walk
more.
off this. I'm about to walk off this show right now. Kidding me?
It's NBL Overtime. Get involved. Very simply, hashtag NBL Overtime. Really should have thought about that All-NBL first team a little differently now that the big dog's in the house. How you doing, buddy?
Keep that same energy. Shout out to my guy, Corey Williams, man. Keep that same energy.
I do want to ask you about that quickly before we get on to some other things. I floated a positional thing of having like two guards, power forward, like two guards, two forwards, and a centre. And you could shake Keanu Pinder, JLA's hands throughout every season and say, I'm gunning for that. I want that All-NBL one first team centre. Would you like something more like that?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to have that position-based thing, so it's not a lot of like ambiguity in between. Is it an inside player or outside player? Having that center position on lock in that.
Because you like the
All-NBL
competitive
team. And it's fun.
100%.
Like anytime you're going out there and you're playing against the best, you always want to have that foot up. You know what I'm saying? You want to outperform that player that you're going against.
And he hates guards. It's perfect.
I love my guards. They give me the ball.
Hey, what's the break been like?
It's been amazing. You know, we've had a really good week of training and working and scheming and doing a bunch of different things that we've been able to do. Had a little bit of downtime, and so that was great too. Threw in a Thanksgiving dinner for the boys and their families as well. So it's just been a really good time to reflect and get ready for this next part of the season.
There's been some frustration, which you've spoken about, and your head coach, Mike Kelly, has said you're exactly where you deserve to be based on the roller coaster season. Do you have confidence you can be a better team than the team you've been at different times prior to the break?
Absolutely, Cam. Confidence is there for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you don't go into this thinking that you're going to just be a middle-of-the-road team, and we're working to be one of the best teams in this league. And we have the pieces to do so. It's just about changing our mentality and changing those little things that we lapsed on in our past couple of games.
Which are, I mean, do you think your defense is where it should be?
No way. We need to be a better defensive team. We want to be in that top 4. We understand how much weight that carries statistically in that pass. You see that stuff. You talk about it all the time. That defensive rating matters. And so we want to be a team that defends well and plays a full 40-minute game.
Is the FIBA break just a break right now for a team like yourselves? Come at a perfect time then, because you can't have to try and fix it on the fly. You can just say, because we mentioned things that we used to do. I mean, he was hitting the pub, we were doing UFC and stuff, but it sounded like you guys just like hit the court and said, look, we got to fix this, this, and this. Let's just roll out the ball and play.
Yeah, no, for teams like us who are right in that middle bunch trying to make that push to the top, it gives us a chance to really review some film, to get after it, to be really competitive in practice without it having to spill out into games. And so it's been a godsend for us, and I think we're going to come out of this break full steam ahead and try to make that push.
When you have that type of confidence, do you look at the schedule and you try and pick off games that you may or may not win, or do you just believe you can beat everyone? Because we have the overtime oracle here at NBL Overtime, and essentially what it is, based on the fixture, if you're on top, Melbourne, that's a ranking point of 10. If you're at the bottom, Illawarra, that's ranking point of 1. Lowest points is the easiest schedule on the way home. So let's have a look who's got the easiest to the toughest. And Tasmania there, according to the Overtime Oracle, Nicole, has got 72 ranking points. So the easiest run compared to Cairns. You've got a pretty tough run here on the back of the FIBA break. Source, what do you make of it?
Yeah, no, it's massive. Obviously, there's a lot of great teams out there in this league, and we're going to have to match up against the top ones in order to get to the place we want to get to. But we ain't looking at the schedule and picking off games like, oh, this is going to be a tougher one than this one. We understand if we take care of home and take care of the things that we've been working on during this break, we're going to put ourselves in a position to be one of the top teams at the end of the day.
Just to add to what Hall's just mentioned, right? When you sit down and you have that little mini break and you've got a little bit of time before your next game and you're sitting in the video review room or however you call it, is it quite obvious the things that you need to change? Was it quite obvious the things you need to tweak either defensively or offensively, or is it stuff that slapped you in the face when you can sit back for a couple of days and soak in?
Yeah, that's the thing they said, like men lie, women lie, numbers and film don't, And so when you get a chance to sit there and break down that film, and I'm sure any player out there can attest to this, all those teams in the NBL that had this break can sit there and watch that film and be like, wow, that back cut, I shouldn't have let that happen. Or that offensive rebound, I shouldn't let go. Or Allen, stop reaching so much right here in this situation. And those kind of things that I take personally and am able to review, as well as the other teammates, to get a chance to really watch that and see it.
I'm an ex-import.
Yeah.
How do you get your new imports on the same page as you, though? You've been here a couple of years. You want to win a championship. They may not have the same mentality. They might be thinking, let's just get to the playoffs and go home, or I got other things on my mind, not knowing. How do you get these guys on the same? Because I know Cricky right now is starting he wants it. You know what I mean? I know you want it. Yeah. And you guys are pushing it. But you got other guys that have just joined the team. Are they as hungry? Or do they want it as badly? Has that conversation happened yet?
Yeah, no, I have the utmost confidence that our imports, basically most imports in this league, are the utmost professional and understand going out there, getting your money means that you got to win games doing that. And so, again, that's why this break is so important for the imports, especially the first-year guys in this league, to really get that deep breath and understand and review those first couple of games and be able to come out of that break better, understanding the nuances of how the NBL goes.
In all honesty, Coach, when you got here in '92, was an NBL championship a problem for you, or getting back to the NBL?
I was trying to get back to the NBA straight. Championship and lost. And then my mindset changed. That's why I asked that question. My second year, I'm thinking, we're leaving something on the table and win a championship before I go. And we won it the next year.
And then you realise, hang on, I might not have to pay a drink if I naturalise and stay in Australia. I'm a legend, I get my jersey up. That's exactly the mindset that happened. Pay for a drink.
So how do you get your boys now all of a sudden say, you know, I need to win a championship?
Big shout out to the crew at Arizona Bar back in the late 90s. How about for you? When you got here? Was it all about NBL championship, or did it change your mindset at some point last season into this year?
Yeah, I came over here not knowing what to expect. I saw it as an opportunity, a fresh start, a place that I hadn't been able to touch before and impact. And so I wanted to leave my impact when I leave this place. And so everything that I'm doing is going to that. Anytime I step on the floor, I want to win. Anytime I'm a part of a team, I want to enjoy that team's success. There's nothing better than it. You guys know it. Y'all are NBL champions.
Hey,
you know
win,
it.
Everyone gets paid, whether it's a contract, whether it's back to the NBA. Winning is more attractive than anything else.
Now, NBL CEO David Stevenson did a really good conversation with you over the last couple of days, and one of the main things was, and the headline there is, the refs need more respect, and he speaks about the fact that he's seeing way too much hostile conversation or verbal arguments from coaches and players towards the referees. What's your take?
Being an official in basketball, in this league specifically, is a tough in any sport, right? It's a tough role. Everybody is against you at all times. The only team you have is that group that you have on the court at that moment. And so understanding and respecting the officials is a massive part of keeping the game clean and keeping the game fair. And so I'm all for the respecting the officials. Obviously, we have emotions as players and coaches, and we should still be able to have that little bit of an outburst if we want to challenge something along that line, but keep it within the realm of a good deal of respect.
Quick question. The NBA, you played in the NBA.
Yes.
Do the referees in the NBA have thicker skin than the referees here? Not trying to get you in trouble, just think about what I'm saying here. Because I've seen a lot of things happen.
There's a bit of bait on this fish.
I don't want you to get in trouble. No.
I do think officials everywhere have to have tough skin. You know what I'm saying? You are going to be in situations where you have a coach yelling in your face or a player yelling in your face, and you can't use that against the team. You have to be objective as possible. You're there to officiate the game. And so I think our NBL referees do a tremendous job of allowing those emotional impulses at times to happen and not just blowing a quick tech.
And I think the other side of that, if there is a line there, and I think it's the same with flopping actually, is that like we don't have it's too long. It's warning, it's tech. And if the flop's bad enough, it's tech.
Yeah.
The quickest way to stamp that out is like, hey, you've said your piece. If you speak to me properly, the way they mic'd refs up in the World Cup was phenomenal. The way he talked, like, hey, I can just talk to you. I think it was one they were telling the Aussie players, just calm down, just talk to me. But if you cross the line, hey, tech. You do it again, you're showering.
That's right.
Like, it's that simple.
Hey, I tell you what, nice words, which means I reckon you get a good rub of the green this week. Man. I like it. Good luck this weekend. We'll talk next week.
This guy thinks he's sweet. Come on, bro.
Big Sauce in the house. NBL Overtime. Yes or no? And a brand new sting on the other side of this.
No.
No stinger. Yeah, 6 straight years. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Quickly before yes or no, Copes.
Yes.
Quite simple. This is a very short answer I need. You and Big Sauce are having a conversation.
Sure.
In a 5-game grand final series, 1993 Melbourne Tigers v this year's Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, how many games do they win?
None.
You sweep them?
Come on, man. What is he talking about?
You sweep them?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, there you go.
He's probably right.
Jeez, yes or no? Hey, can Perth win the title?
No.
Hey, will we see an import sacked in the next 2 weeks?
No.
Is Jack McVeigh in the top 8 players in the league?
Players or local players?
Players.
No.
Now, this is my belief that the NBL All-Star Game will soon be announced. Should it be open air?
No. Not
Okay.
the first one.
Should the Hawks ask the question of Chase Buford?
Absolutely.
Will we see Paddy Mills in the NBL ever again?
I don't think so. He's done his time.
Okay. Will he be at the Olympics?
Yes.
All right. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved.
I think he might be.
You think he'll be in the NBL?
I don't think he's done. I think him and Joey will end up here to get maybe the same team.
There you go. On that note, that's breaking news from Pete Hawley. See you next week.